Let's be honest. Most students struggle when they start learning DSA, and they don't struggle because DSA is impossible. They struggle because it feels overwhelming in the beginning. When you enter college, you hear the word DSA everywhere, from seniors, clubs, and even YouTube. Everyone tells you that it is important, but nobody tells you exactly what to do first. So you're left with a mental note of exploring DSA because
भाई ने बोला करने का तो करने का।
but you don't know what you should be doing next. And even if you somehow start, you don't know if you're doing the right thing. And that is where most people get stuck. They start somewhere, jump between programming languages and various YouTube playlists, and by the time they have finished arrays, their motivation dips. Over the years, I've taught hundreds of students at different stages, from school to college. I faced some challenges learning DSA myself, and I've heard from the students what they struggle with. To get a more updated perspective, I reached out to one of my former students whom I taught when he was in school. Now he is finishing BTech and will intern at Qualcomm the next year. He and a few of his friends shared the struggles that they faced when learning DSA. Based on their responses and my own experience as a student first and a teacher later, let us see what problems you may face when starting your DSA journey and what you could do about them. The first question is, where do I start? Well, a very simple answer to this is start by learning a programming language. And the next most obvious question is, which programming language? Well, it could be any language. It could be C, C++, Java, Ruby, Python, JavaScript, any language out there. Now, if a programming language has already been taught to you in your school or college, start with it. If you need to or want to switch to a different programming language later on, it won't be very difficult to switch to a new one. Don't overthink about choosing a programming language. Don't get attached to the programming language that you have learned, so much so that when it is time to jump ship, you feel like you've invested too much time into learning one programming language to completely forget it and learn something new. During my college years, I used to write code in the C language and I absolutely loved it. I was very resistant when I had to switch to Java. And I was not resistant because Java seemed very difficult to learn. I was resistant because I thought that I'll have to forget C and learn Java from scratch. And it also felt like it will mean that a lot of time that went into understanding C concepts like pointers will be wasted. But what I realized later on was when you move from C to Java or from one programming language to another, you're not throwing all of the things that you have learned. You are reusing a lot of it. So basic logic like loops, arrays, conditional, recursion, etc. remains identical. You already know how to think like a programmer, which is the hardest part. So trust me when I say this, learning a new programming language is not going to take as much time as the first one did. Over the past 4 plus years in my software engineering career, I have worked with Java, Python, and Ruby. Every time I switched to a new programming language, I was not forgetting whatever I have learned so far, I was just building on top of it. So, in short, choose a programming language and stick to it as long as it feels like it is serving your needs. If you want to, or if you have to switch to a different programming language later on, it is not going to be a big task. Now, if you already know a programming language very well, what do you do next? Well, you start with DSA. What you could do is you could create a list of topics and divide them into phases and stick to them. For example, phase 1 could be arrays, strings, and linked list. Phase 2 could be, say, stacks and queues. Phase 3 could contain trees and graphs, for example. And phase 4 can contain DP and other problem solving techniques and advanced algorithms. At each phase, you need to practice consistently before moving to the next one. Now, if you're wondering why is this phase necessary, why do you need a plan? Well, that is because without a plan, your enthusiasm and motivation will be very high on arrays and strings, will probably peak by the time you are on linked list, but when you approach stacks and queues or maybe trees and graphs, your motivation will start dipping down. So have a plan, keep learning the next topic, and keep reviewing the previous ones. Now the next question that could come up is, and it happened to me as well, is should I learn all of the concepts first and then start solving problems, or should I learn a concept, solve problems related to those concepts, and then move to the new one? Well, I would say don't wait to complete all of the concepts before you start solving questions. Learn a topic, solve questions, and move on to the next topic. And when solving questions, try to visualize the data structure that you're going to use for that particular problem. And also dry run your code with various examples. And one of the most important points over here is to not rush through it. You're not going to get rewarded for solving, say, 100 questions in one day for 7 days and then stopping altogether. But you will surely get rewarded if you solve just 5 questions every single day for one straight year. Another problem that student faces, well, I've learned the concept and I solved a few questions that I could get my hands on, but which platform do I consistently practice on? And I get it. There are so many platforms out there, for example, LeetCode and HackerRank to name a few. What I would suggest is pick one platform and stick to it. Build consistency and don't chase after the scores and rankings. And if you're confused which platform to start with, maybe do this. If you're an absolute beginner, that is, you know a programming language and its syntax, maybe start with HackerRank to get some practice and getting used to the syntax of the programming language. If you already know a programming language well, start with LeetCode. Also, when you're tackling a problem, don't obsess over getting the most optimized solution in the first go. Based on whatever you know, try to find a solution and see if it passes all the test cases or not. If it passes all the test cases, great, but don't stop there. See if there are chances of optimizations and improvements in your code. And if you could not pass all the test cases, that's also not a big deal. Take the test case that failed, run your code and identify where the problem was, fix it and run it again. And lastly, don't try to memorize the optimal solutions because it will not help you in building problem solving skills. One googly and you'll be clean bold. Another difficulty that students face is deciding between DSA and projects. Well, my suggestion for this would be, if you're in the first year, deep dive into learning a programming language and getting good at DSA. Continue this in the second year while exploring different domains for your project. It is not an either or scenario. Both of them are important. Don't give weightage to one while completely neglecting the other. Pick one language for DSA, get good at DSA in the first year, continue getting better in the second year, explore domains for projects in the second year, and most importantly, don't choose a domain on the basis of the programming language that you know. For example, if you know JavaScript very well, don't go for front end just because you know JavaScript well. Explore various domains, see which one interests you, and then pick one of them and try to make a project in it. Knowing a programming language of a particular domain will give you advantage initially, but in the long run, it may not be good because the domain might not interest you. But if you pick a domain based on your interest, it might be a little difficult in the beginning because you may have to learn a different language, but it will serve you in the long run. Now, even if you're doing everything right, that is, you picked the programming language, learned it properly, dived into DSA, and you're getting better at it, you might feel alone if you're the only one in your group doing all of this. If that is the case, try looking for communities in your college or online. If there's none in your college, try forming one. Push your friends to explore DSA with you. It will not just help you, it will also help them. Learning with peers will keep you on track and will move you towards your goal faster. And lastly, don't rely just on the college curriculum. DSA courses in colleges are often foundational. Use a DSA course in your college to learn the basics and make a strong foundation. Once you have a strong foundation, you can make a tall and sturdy skyscraper on it, right? So that is all for this video. I hope you found this video helpful and I have been able to answer some of your questions. If you still have questions that you could not get an answer for in this video, feel free to put them down in the comments and I will respond to them. Remember, don't get into analysis paralysis. Starting something sooner and figuring it out on the way is more important than waiting to figure out everything and then start. Make a decision and stick to it as long as you feel that it is serving you well.